Stan, here we are in the man cave with a nice West German side cap on, because who cares? Do what you like in there, anything you want to do in there. So, first of all, military collecting types and historical dudes, you come here for a bit of history and military chit chat, but not today because I'm going to do an ordinary life video. Have enough work all week and next week, 2 weeks holiday, and I generally, the first week sort of go, I do get up very early in the morning. I do get migraines. I do get them every now and again, ocular ones, ones in your eyes. I had 3 this week for some reason. I haven't been hitting the drink or anything. Just tired. So I thought, I need to cheer myself up. So, I said to my wife, she's laying the city now. She doesn't feel well. She's just trying to cut me off me. So I'll come in here, ordinary life video, try and make it funny. I'll try and get to Christmas 1992, hopefully. We'll see how we get on. Don't want to make too long. Firstly, a couple of shout outs to Bod. Again, thanks for sending me the stuff. I've put the armbands up on the wall there. I'm not going to turn the camera around because I've got it all set up now. I haven't got around to putting the other stuff under the perspex. What I will do is when it's all in place properly, I'll do a quick shed tour and you can see some of the signs on the inside of the door, which is open now because we've got a bit of light rain as well. Also, thanks to Danny Reich of the Herefordshire Regimental Museum, who sent me this fine book the other day. I am in the middle of reading something else, so I just flicked through it. Obviously, I went to the page straight away. I had 286. I'm sure it's 286. From my mind, where are we? 238, 274, 280, 80, 90, 286. I wasn't far off. There we go. DDR. There you go. So thanks, Danny. Thanks, Bod. Right. So, where were we? You left me getting out of the car in the back of Beyond. Turn this down a bit. Is that going to go down? No, I'll just have to leave it. One of the cats is scritching and scratching at the door now, wanting to be in. There we go. If you can hear it. So, I have to stop this. Pause. Oh, I managed to save it. Scratching because they want to be out. So my wife's leaving the settee, so the cats can't go out unless someone supervises them. And I'm in here doing this. I can't supervise them. So anyway, enough of that. Prattling on. So, you left me getting out of the car. My cousin dropped me off. And, nice, like freshman cheese, everyone. I'm not going to jump straight into that. This is long, it's a long, complicated. Well, it might run longer than it should do. I've made notes. How do you make notes in your own life? Well, just certain when I was doing this, to get ready to do this video, I kept remembering things. So first of all, I just mentioned the skiing trip. Now, I did mention it before in the other video, but the actual whys and wherefores, I'd never skied before. And after the first day, I just said, I'm going to go drink, and I'm not skiing. I can't do it. I kept falling over. Anyway, my elder cousin who had organised it, he said, give it another go. There was a fresh snowfall on the night, and I took to it quite well, to be honest. My cousin, who's similar age, he was banzai, straight in, jumping off the blue runs, the really scary ones. I didn't, but I got up there. I got up there in the end and did, my fair share. It was the only time I've ever been skiing in my life. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The only thing that probably marred the trip was after excessively drinking on the third and final night, I managed to stumble out of this pub, probably 6 or 7 o'clock at night, so not late, intoxicated and vomited everywhere in front of lots of people walking about. Not one of my proudest moments. And in the middle of the night, in this Alpine style lodge, I got up in the middle of the night and ate half the contents of the fridge. And my cousin, who's a similar age to me, he did exactly the same, like just after me or just before me. Now, that was the food for the next load of guests, and my eldest cousin has been in contact with me over the last week and said, I enjoyed your last Ordinary Life video, but you didn't mention the fact that because you and my brother scoffed all of the contents of the refrigerator, we got barred as a group, him and his friends, from ever using that facility again. Sorry, eldest cousin, but you shouldn't have took a pair of Pratts with you, should you? See, there you go. Idiots. Drongos, as the Aussies say. I did have a nickname when I was out there, due to my cousin Nout, because we say Nout in the North East for nothing. Nout, so I was called Nout. That later transformed into something else when I made my third trip to Australia, which is a swear word, but yeah, it was always a term of endearment. We also played six-a-side soccer It was a rugby league hotbed, rugby union, rugby league, Aussie rules, and we did set up a little six-a-side team, 10 of us in the squad, and it was that time that I got a ball in my face. How much eye it is, it's hard to tell now. I've got a bit of permanent damage. What my eyelashes, I think, were driven into my eye. I was actually blind in half my eye. Like, I couldn't see properly, and that took a few weeks to sort of get back to normal. But even now, if I look up at blue sky, I've still got like scarring probably on there. It doesn't affect my sight or anything, but yeah, one to watch out for. And I do remember coming home from the club one night, and I'd say, I can't speak for now, but definitely when I was, the times that I've been in Australia, it's 14 years since I've been there, the policing is different. It's a bit more brusque. You know, I've got friends who were police officers, have been serving police officers, my opinion, they're a bit more, you know, do as you're told. And I was coming home from the local club. Now, there was two of my cousins who were regular drinkers, if you like, and sometimes I went out once, sometimes I went the other, or met up with them both. I used to drink with my uncle, but he was an afternoon drinker, so I got plenty of light refreshments into me. And I was walking home from the club. Now, this was, I don't know what time of year it was, whether it was summer, winter, spring, whatever. And I'm coming down their street. Now, I had a little photograph. I didn't get all the photographs I wanted. I can't. My wife sorted them out, but I couldn't find them. But there's one. That's a picture outside my auntie's front door, and you can see the lake in front of it. So where there's my cousin's car, eldest cousin's car, just about there, I was about to cross over. A cop van pulled up with a paddy wagon on the back for throwing drunks in. I wasn't exceedingly drunk, I remember this. And the cop, an older guy, went, "Where are you going, mate?" I said, "I'm just going over there." And he said, "That's an accent. Where you're from? Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from the north of England." "You had a lot to drink, have you?" Now, this was, you know, I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here? He said, "Where do you live?" I said, "I live there." He went, "Don't get smart." I said, "I'm not, honestly." And the other cop got out the passenger door, and I don't know if my cousin came out the house or pulled, I think he pulled up in a taxi. And he was a rugby league player, very well known in the area. And the older cop said, "Hey, is this your cousin?" He says, "He lives here." And he says, "Yeah." He went, "Oh, good. We were going to throw him in the back of the wagon." And I thought, what? Oh, God. Yeah, that's the way it was. The sort of general feel of the Illawarra, I mean, here's another little photograph of little Stan, stood by, my cousin's mate, my mate as well, I'll say his name, Jimmy, and he had a Holden, I think it's a Holden FB, what do you call it, little Stan, that's across the road from my auntie's house, that's at the side of my auntie's house. And it's a very different world. I mean, that is, you know, that was a classic car by them standards, 1991. It was very different, slower pace. You know, if an American came and lived in my town now, it'd be different. I was different. It wasn't, you know, there was a big Pommy community there, but they were older. They were came over in the 1960s, latest 1970s. So it was really an Australian, regional Australian area. It wasn't Sydney Harbour Bridge. It wasn't Perth, where there's loads of Poms, as in my age and stuff. It was regional Australia. And I'm really glad of the opportunity to live there for a year at the time. And my cousins, my family, made me feel part of the family, you know. I was part of the celebrations, I was part of the telling-offs, everything else. So I had no complaints there at all. They all made me feel very welcome. And we used to go to the club, and I used to stand at the bar, because that was the done thing in the northeast of England, whereas everyone else used to sit down in couples. Very strange sort of like differences between people. At the time in the UK, it was very fashionable for young fellas, I think it is now, to have like sort of a short back and sides. It's like skinned around the back of you, like mine is, but with hair. I haven't got it anymore. So in effect, you've got like a pie on your head. And I went to the barbers in the Illawarra, Dapto, and I got my hair cut like this. And there was two guys behind me who had Aussie mullets, and they were going, and you think, I remember thinking, they don't know what fashion is. But the thing is, you know, it's just because I was in their area with my fashion. If they'd come over to this part of the world at the time, people would laugh at their hair, same as anybody goes anywhere else. It's just vive la difference, as they say. My uncle, he liked to drink, and quite often, you know, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, dinner time, I'd be lounging around, he'd come in. I think I've covered this in the last video. "Are you coming to the club?" I'll go to the club with him. And then one night, I mean, I did cover this in the last video, that I fell asleep standing up in a conifer tree after the rugby union dinner, and I fell asleep in this conifer tree, and he dragged me out at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and told me there was a big orange spider living in there every year or something. He said, you'll end up in getting arrested, which ties in with the police before for being drunk. Anyway, one afternoon I had to go and pick my uncle up from his friends where he'd been drinking whiskey. Yeah, pick him up literally and like scoop him into his little minivan. And he got up the next morning and he's eating his breakfast. And I walked in and I went, remember last night, dear? He went, yes, I do. About half an hour later, are you coming to the club? No, that's why I went to the club. He's a good old stick, my uncle, a good fella. So, let's get into where I was working. I'll try and keep this to half an hour. So, I go and work for this guy. And as I said, their living arrangements were quite strange. They were, me on top bunk, son underneath, young kid. His 2 daughters downstairs, him and his wife, in an archway here, living area in front of us. I can't find the photographs of the actual place, although I do have some. But this is the view from the workshop down to his barren land, if you like. It's an old photograph, but that's what it was. It's not the bush, as in hundreds of miles away from anywhere, but it's the middle of nowhere. You get lost. Kangaroos, snakes, the full thing there, you know what I mean? We were 25 miles from the nearest town, something along them lines. I forget, I could Google it, I suppose. But I was very, and still am, very interested in the Second World War, obviously, in World War II, World War One, and I didn't know as much as I know now. That's a lifetime of reading and learning, isn't it? Now probably the same as the photographs. I've only put photographs of me in there. I've got photographs of my cousins or whatever. It's not my permission to put them in. If I asked them, they'd probably say fine, but it's not. I don't want to be putting things on that people don't want to put on themselves. Same with this fella. I could say his name. I remember it now. I remember all his family, kids' names, the name of his company. We had a distinctive name, and he said to me after I'd been there a couple of nights. He didn't drink much beer out. We had an occasional beer with him. He'd start opening up, talking a bit, and he was an older fella, probably in his 40s at the time. His wife was younger, and people in like rural Australia, they're different again from people in regional Australia. Same in this country, rural communities have different attitudes towards life. I was remember he had a tooth missing at the front, and he wasn't bothered about that. You live in the middle of nowhere, who cares? You've got a tooth missing in front of your head. And he said to me, oh, you're into World War II. I said, yeah. He said, oh, one of my relatives came over from Europe after the Second World War. I went, oh yeah. And he said he was quite high up in the Third Reich. And I said, was he? He went, yeah, that's why we changed the family name. And I said, what was he called before? And he went, and I said, your relative was? He went, yeah. Now, I've tried Googling this, and I don't want to say too much about it. A, because the family, he might be lying, but again, he's a rural dude in country Australia, running a little business. It's not. It wouldn't be an internet sensation. It wasn't any internet. So he's just telling me this, and he did look like the guy he said he was related to. It wasn't A.H. and it wasn't Adolf Hitler or anything, but yeah, it was quite a strange one that. And we were driving into Goulburn, the big town down the road, to do some work. And so the situation was he had a workshop attached to the side of his house. He was getting a proper house built, and for all people who think that the world's going bad and this, that and the other, and move to the side of the world for a better life. The only time I've seen that I've experienced firsthand, I know it's happened in this country, but this is again what I've seen. War memorials vandalised was in Australia. The World War One and Two memorial outside Goulburn on a hill, that was vandalised just as I got there, just after, by a load of kids went and trashed it. That's 1991, a long time ago. And the actual big one in Sydney was damaged 2008 or 9, vandalised again. That's not good. That's not good at all. Got to try and make this funny, my wife says. Right, okay. So the letterbox was half a kilometre away, and he had a 3-wheeled motorbike. Used to get on that, go down, get your letters. And at the time, I was in a relationship with someone, so I was corresponding by letter who lived in Australia. There was a load of old cars on his property, like in the 1950s, like that Holden FB car, 50s and 60s. There was ants, kangaroos, snakes, all sorts of stuff creeping about. You could go down to the water and the dam, they call it a dam of water, like a watering hole, some emergency water supply. It had outbuildings. You see the kangaroos just hopping around on the out on the outskirts, proper nature. In fact, one day, I pulled back the shower curtain in this ramshackle affair house he had, and there was a spider, big black one. What he'd said to me was, any spiders you see, kill them, because you don't know, you're not experienced, which I wasn't. Kill them first, ask questions later. And this spider, now I don't believe funnel webs can jump. And it might have jumped in the air because I hit it half, but it did rear up on its back legs, and I gave it a, and it jumped, or it moved very quickly. Felt like it, and I did kill it, and he reckoned it was a funnel web spider. So, and I have no reason to doubt it, because really you're in the middle of nowhere, you get me. So the job itself, say, it was near Goulburn. Goulburn is a country town, and the Goulburn church, it was queer that it was built in the 1800s, and they didn't put a tower on it, tower, until 1988, when it was a centenary. I don't know, they ran out of money, but that was only 3-year-old when I was there. And it was odd that probably 2003, 2004, I was working. I was at work as a postman. I used to get up and watch BBC News all the time, and it came across on the news that Goulburn was struggling from an employment shortage of people to do the sheep shearing, and how some of their businesses, one of the pubs had closed down. It was one of the ones I'd been in, and it was a nice enough place. Country town, Australia. It's very hard to describe it. The big hotel on the corner, like a Victorian post office. Not a lot to it. The main street. There was also a high security prison there, actually. Still is, and also a mental health hospital type place where people stay, residents. And I was out there. What used to happen was his wife, the guy's wife who I was staying with, she treated me with neither acceptance or disrespect. There's your dinner. Like, she didn't want me there. Fair enough. I mean, who would? A young man, 21-year-old, 22-year-old, and she was probably only in her 20s, early 30s anyway herself, I'd say. And I wasn't up to any. I'm an honest person. You can tell that, can't you? But it wasn't the first time that the guy had hired younger fellas in, apparently, to come and do work, tradesmen, electricians, boilermakers, whatever, and stay over. It was a cheap option for him, that's what it is. So, but she used to work in the town, and don't worry, I'll get to some funny bits. On a Thursday night, she'd work in Goulburn, and she was working in a supermarket, something like that, Target, Woolworths. And she used to go into town at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, come home finish at 10:30, whatever time it was. So, because like the guy, Joe, I said his name there, their first name doesn't make any difference. He didn't drink, and I did. He'd say, look, if you want to finish early, grab a shower, cut into town, she can drop you off, pick you up. No problem, no dramas. So I don't think it was the first time I did it, but I remember once that I phoned my parents from the shopping mall. Because in those days, no internet, no mobiles, didn't know what to talk to. I'm not saying I rang my parents for conversation, because it went something like this. Hello? Hello? Hey, it's me. You are? That's my mother, by the way. It's me. It's him. What does he fucking want? I just wanted to tell you. What your dad says, what do you want? I'm in this job there. Tell him to fuck off. I went, your dad's busy, we've got to go somewhere. I went, all right, well, I'll see you then. And I put the phone down. There was a woman stood quite close to me. She could hear what was going on at the other end. She's going, I think, just mum and dad, they're missing me. I played that up a little bit for comic value, but honestly, believe me, it was something like that. They live in my street now. I've been 3 times the other side of the world, and they're coming back to my hometown, and they live in my street. I was here first, and they're still the same now. In fact, they're worse as they've got older. Anyway, I hope they don't watch this video. They may get cut out the inheritance. Anyway, so this one night, there was only 3 pubs in the town, I think. Probably the Victorian hotel type building, which I don't have much of a memory of. But the one that does stick in my mind was at the end of a block, and it was just a bar with things crawling up the wall. Nothing to the place at all. The TV was on the wall. It was that deep. It was that wide. The great big box TVs. And anyone who's travelled, I did most of my travelling before I met my wife now. They then travelled with her as well, obviously, as we got into married life. But did all my travelling when I was younger. And it's strange how, I've got a bookcase now, a book collection, that if the world came to an end, I'd be like that bloke off the Twilight Zone with his glasses. As long as my glasses didn't break, I could read all through my collection and start again. I probably wouldn't get through the second time and be dead, so it would make no difference. But if you, in the olden days, when you had a jukebox with only three records on, or you had a video vault, wherever you were working with 3 movies, Magnificent Seven and something else, or a bookshelf with 4 books on, they were the best things in your life. You really appreciated them because they were there, because it's all you had. You didn't have too much choice, not like nowadays. So in this pub, I'm just drinking beer, just minding my own business, keeping on my own. And on the TV was Cockney Darts Classics, a collection, a montage of darts players from England. Eric Bristow, I remember that. Oh, he's got the top business. And I was watching it because there's nothing else on. I'm thinking, this is alright. It might have been a VHS thing, I don't know. You're in the middle of nowhere and I'm watching it. And there was these blokes in there, 4 or 5 of them, Aussies, and I'd say, I don't want to generalise, but typical sort of rural working blue collar dudes like me. Guess I'm not rural, but you get the drift. They had their old rugby shirts on, the work boots, shirts open like that. Yeah, mate, yeah, mate. Oh, back and right, mate. All this carry on, which is, anyone who's watching from Australia, that's how it was, now it is. So I'm watching away, and I remember like the bloke the nearest to me, he had a big, as the Aussies say, a piss cut, nose out. He goes, hey mate. And I went, eh? He went, and he pointed at the telly, he went, fucking pommy bastard. Eric Bristow. I went, yeah mate. He went, fucking pommies, eh? I went, oh yeah mate, yeah. And I thought, okay, no, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I may be the only, I won't be the only, I wouldn't have been the only pommy in town, but it probably wouldn't have been far off. I was the only pommy in that pub, and these fellas obviously didn't like pommies. So I just, I think I just stayed in there drinking and kept my mouth shut, to be honest. Because that's all you can do, can you? You know what you do nowadays, you'd probably go on your phone, wouldn't you? Help, I'm going to be beaten up by some Australian men. Anyway, they left me alone. So, anyway, where were we? So, on the way home, she picked me up on the way home. I don't know whether I say chronologically or whether it's all correct, just from my memory. She picked me up, and the times that I went into town, nothing really was said on the way home. One word answers. Like I say, she wasn't particularly 100% with me living there. That's fine. I'm a polite enough person to know when to keep my gob shut. So he gets back to the Ponderosa. So, bear in mind, his daughters are in the porter cabin with the door shut downstairs. His son is in the top bunk, asleep. Now, they weren't in the bed. I'm pissed. I'm drunk. And the rule was, make yourself at home. They didn't treat me badly. Fair enough. Fed me, everything else. I've got no complaints. Eat what you like. So I'm being out, 8-9 beers, eating toast with Vegemite on. And I remember, I sort of have to do the act. In the floor, there was a grill for the wood burner stove to heat upstairs. The shower room was downstairs. So I'm in the kitchen, eating my piece of toast, and I went, the shower curtain was open, and I could see them. Now, he was very thin, and she was rather larger, plump. And he was washing her down and performing a sex act. And I'm like going, oh, shit. So, like a daily Sunday Mail and Sunday reporter, I made my excuses and went to bed, and I thought, shit, that's a bit, isn't it? I'm in the middle of nowhere. And the next morning, when she'd got up, took the kids to the bus stop to go to school, and he'd buggered off somewhere, I was making me cup of tea, and I had my piece of toast, and I'm looking, and I'm going, how did I see that last night? I can't work out how I looked. And so I wasn't standing on my head, and the door opened. How you going? I went, oh yeah, all right mate, yeah. Nothing, just I dropped something on the floor. I'm thinking, fucking hell, man. I mean, the person that I was involved with at the time, I told her on the phone, and she went, oh, they want to do things to you, they want to kidnap you or something. I'm thinking, oh, no one would know, would they? But as it was, just a man and wife doing whatever men and wife do. It just happened that I caught them doing it. I didn't watch for long, just half an hour. Didn't. Anyway, so around this time as well, the summer, it was getting on for summer. It was one of the worst summers they'd ever had in New South Wales. And I'll give you a little picture of New South Wales. I think this is me coming back for Christmas, so this is the summer. Now, for those of you who've never been to Australia, you think palm trees, desert, sand? That's just outside, what the hell was it called? To the top of Macquarie Pass, which is not far from there. So again, even that looks dry, but it rained a lot. It was raining a lot, and it was absolutely peeing down one day. So much so I had an old army coat on, long trousers, boots, and I was stood looking out that view into the distance, and it came over the little radio in the corner. Today, singer and entertainer Freddie Mercury died of an AIDS-related disease. The former frontman with the band Queen was aged, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, bloody hell, I'll always remember this. You know, like, where were you when JFK got shot? And I always did remember where I was when Freddie Mercury died. So there you go. I mean, I wasn't so much a Queen fan. He was a good singer, wasn't he? I mean, definitely. I also went to Montreux years later where he had a studio, I think. There was a statue. Anyway, I do digress. Also, I was getting bitten by mosquitoes on a night, like something chronic. Like, back of my neck swelled up. I had to go and see the local doctor, and he was like, "What's the matter with you, mate?" I said, "Oh, mate, yeah, you want to toughen up a bit." Literally, something. Give me some tablets. And I was away with it again. I did have a thing where there was one day I'll just have to cut this off at Christmas. It's probably going to be a 40-minute. She was doing some sort of studying, the woman, college, something like that. You got to remember, I'm living with these people. I'm living in their life for 6 months, 5 months, whatever it was. She was doing something to do with childcare, nursing, night school, as well as working part-time, bringing up a family. Hey, fair go to you, whatever. And the guy went, "Stan, we would like to invite you out to the Brassiere in town on Wednesday night as our guest, because you're part of the family while you're working here." Yeah, all right, then I'll go, yeah. So I go there, and I did know a couple of the fellas, because he was a local, even though he worked in the mine industry where I used to work, he's also got his own business, and he's also, rural towns, everyone knows each other, everyone knew him, so I knew a couple of his mates, and they were all right. We went to the restaurant, big long table, 2, 4, 6, 8 couples, me on the end. Now, again, I'm different, aren't I? I'm not different here, but I'm different if I lived in New York, and I'm different if I'm living in Goulburn. I'm different from the people there. And I would say that the people in like rural parts of Australia were just a bit more straight, not straight's the wrong word, a bit more down to earth, maybe not as they haven't maybe seen as much as life as maybe someone from the northeast. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it. A bit more country people. You get what I'm saying? They just, they probably didn't have. They probably stopped going out to nightclubs. If there was any nightclubs, it might be the country dance when they were 18. They got married to sweetheart, and that was it. Whereas, in this part of the world, you're still going out at 2 o'clock in the morning when you were 30 with kids. That sort of thing. Not saying that I'm right and they're wrong or anything. Just they're more of a straightforward life, And this fella got sat across from me, and his wife was there, and I started talking about politics. At the time, I've always been a union person, but at the time I was very passionate about the Labour Party, getting the Tories kicked out and all that sort of carry on. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's now what I'm like. Now I'm not talking about politics, I'm talking politics then. So I started going on about what I believed and this and that and the other, why the world was wrong. Like a lot of young people, I got a bee in my bonnet about how I thought the world should be run and how I was going to make a difference. Did I? Well, I built this place, so there's a little difference. Anyway, so this guy was like, "Oh, really? Oh, yeah, okay." I remember I was drinking cans of VB Victoria Bitter. It's not rocket fuel, but it's all right. I got the impression after the event that his wife probably let him have one beer after Sunday church service or something. Like, this bloke wasn't allowed beer or something like that. So he was going, "Really? Get another couple of beers out of it." So we get the beer, and I'm going. And anyway, and another thing, and he's going, "Yeah, get another couple of beers out of it." And in the end, his wife turned round after there's about 8 or 9 beers, like all over this restaurant table. She went, what's going on here? Get away from him. And she physically pulled him out of the chair, and she sat where he was, glaring at me, and he was just sat there, all bashfully being told off for drinking with me, because I was getting the beer in. But anyway, that's, yeah, so. The car, I used to borrow this car every now and again to go back to my auntie and uncle's. I'm going to have to get a beer, just pause. Oh, who knew it'd become a 2-can bleeding video? I have to use my army towel. Oh, shite. Slopping it all over the place, all over the floor. Ah, man, Stan, what are you doing? So yeah, so he had this car. It was a 4-litre Ford Falcon, which is like a Granada of those English types. But it was the estate version. Now I have got a photograph of it somewhere, but who knows? Whether it was legal in Australia, New South Wales Police, I do not know. But he had it, and he had the front 2 steel uprights, a steel cross member, and that way, steel that way, like a gun sight. Now this was for carrying steel across for light fabrications across the roof. But we were driving it along. It had a gun sight. This big 4-litre Ford Falcon. It was right in wreck. I loved driving it. And I was one day I was working away on a Sunday. I think it was a Sunday morning, and an older Ford car pulls up. These people get out. How you going? Blah blah. Okay, yeah, great. And there were some relatives who come over for Sunday dinner unexpectedly. So the guy came in and went, "Oh, Stan, I used to make a note of all my hours because I only got paid when we'd finished a certain job. I mean, one job, the one we were doing at that time, was out the back of the city, town, near the prison, and you know, like a warehouse, how high a warehouse is, 20, 30 feet. And I was putting the purlins on the roof on my own in a pair of shorts that were cut right over here, work boots on, no shirt, little tiny hat with the front foot rolled up, no gloves. And he went, I'm just going into town, you'll be all right. Well, yeah, and I'm just walking on the steelwork. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, not clever, not anything at all. We live in a world now where it's health and safety-tastic. But I didn't fall off. I'm still here. And I did do it. I know, could have fell off, but I didn't. Anyway, it doesn't make any difference to the story. But these people turned up, and he said, look, the family are here. If you want to cut and run, get back to your aunties for the night. Just come back tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. I'll pay you all day. If you want. I went, right, you can take the car. So I'm in the Ford Falcon. Gets down home. Walked in at my uncle's. Do you want to go to the club? Let's go to the club. So we went to the club. And on the way back, we got some whiskey. Now, I don't drink spirits. And there's reasons for that. There's probably been 2 or 3 times in my life where I've drank spirits. Think it's funny. This is one of them where we drank spirits. And my auntie and uncle had a friend. I'd say it's for Tony. I'll just say that because my cousins were watching us, will know. And he would not ever go home. Like, literally, you'd be falling asleep in my auntie's kitchen going, I'm going to go to bed. You go, yeah, and he smoked. And he went, yeah, well, I'm telling you, when I was in the Royal Australian Air Force, you could probably go to bed, come back, and he'd still be sat there in the morning talking to me, auntie. Honestly, he was a strange bloke, nice bloke. And he was there, and we were drinking, and we were drinking, and we were drinking. And I just remember thinking, I've got to go to bed at 12 o'clock, because I've got to set off at like 5, 6 in the morning to get to work. And my cousin had borrowed the car. I don't know whether I noticed it on the Sunday or the Saturday, Monday. I said to him, what did you do with the petrol? Oh, the petrol's gone. Well, he had borrowed it, but someone had stole the petrol out of me. There was no petrol left. Someone had siphoned it off my car, so that was nice of them. So that was the only time I saw a car on fire, actually, outside my auntie's house in the paddock across I watched out the kitchen window. It wasn't that night, but I did see that. So you know, there's different parts of Australia. You know, definitely there's parts that things happen that you only expect to happen in Britain that happen there. You know, like everything else in life. There's I enjoyed living in that region because it reminded me around here in some respects. You know, nice, quiet, but sometimes a couple of issues might spring up. Same as around here, really. So yeah. Anyway, I digress. So I got up next morning to go to work, and I was not functioning as a human being. You know, so I got in the car. It wasn't an easy drive to get where I was going. I got to the property and he'd gone into town. I'd missed him by 20 minutes. I was late. So she said, look, I need the car. You'll have to go into school, into the town on the school bus with the kids. So I'm stood by this, imagine the pictures, the films, long country road, shimmering with heat, letterboxes, like that way and that way, with little flags sticking up, with two little girls in green gingham cross-stitched, the dresses, little green check dresses, and the little boy in his shorts, like an Aussie, like that film Outback with Jenny Agatha. I'm stood there, I had a pair of sunglasses on, going, fuck hell. The bus pulls up. The bus driver opens the door and goes, what do you want, mate? I said, oh, she's a woman that lives here, said it'd be alright if I got on the bus in at Goulburn. I got her, yeah, get in, mate. Yeah, I didn't pay anything. I got on the bus. Have you ever seen the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where the teacher gets on the bus and it's just harass? That's what it was like. There was a kid swinging right near me. I'm going, yeah. They were throwing paper balls at me, flicking spitballs at me, giggling. I'm sat there going, all I want to do is die. Oh, God. I got off the bus and the gaffer's waiting for me, and I went, oh, please don't ever do that to me again. I'd rather walk. I'm so ill. Because he wasn't a drinker, I think he had more sympathy for me. If he'd been like a drinker like I am, it'd be like, pull yourself around. And we went to steel stockists, and I always remember the guy, the owner's going, does he work for you, mate? He went, I went, get his ass out of that car, mate. I'll give him the sack. And I just didn't care. I was just laid there going, anyway, he didn't sack me. So, where are we? Petrol station. No, petrol, school bus. Sorry. It was so hot at times there. The family just walked around, well, Joe said his name again, walked around his underpants. So you sort of walk around your underpants and t-shirt, you think, this is bizarre, ants crawling in and out the kettle, all the way across the thing. And we were doing a job in the mental hospital, I think it's the correct way of saying it. And it had a beautiful botanical garden at the front, and people would get the wedding photographs taken there. Inside was a working facility with residents who lived there. Inside, that was a compound where we were working. And there was a group of contractors on there, like plumbers. And I had to borrow the flint gun one day, which is a tool for creating sparks to light gas welding equipment. And I said to this guy, have you got the flint gun, mate? He went, what? I said, the flint gun. He went, flint gun? I went, yeah, the flint gun. Flint gun, flint gun. And that's what they started calling me all the time, flint gun. Yeah, anyway, so that's that. And I was on this job, and there was a young, you could hear the people who lived there, the people who were being treated there, making all sorts of noise through the day. And, it's we live in different times now where we probably appreciate that people have difficulty in life. In those days, not so much. It can be a bit disturbing. And one guy, a young guy, used to come to the front gates of the compound. Now, they were supposed to be locked. They weren't always. And he used to expose himself and pull his pants down. And, I'd look and go, bloody hell, that's a bit. And they'd come and take him back to wherever he was supposed to be. I don't know what the situation was in that place, but there was one day I was working away, and the guy said, look, I'm going into town, the engineer's coming to talk to you. So I'm working away, and I was using an oxy gas cutter, glasses on, turned it, I left it on, I think. A pair of boots appeared, I looked up, bloke, pair of boots, white overalls, hard hat, shirt and tie, clipboard. He went, how are you going? I said, oh, I'm good. He said, you a pommy? I said, I am, yeah. He said, what's the wages like in England? General chit chat about what I was doing, the job. And I just thought, well, this has got to be the engineer, this fella, isn't it? It's for sure, got to be. Blah, 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 talking to me about the job, this, that, and the other. I just said to him, oh, so you're the engineer then? He went, oh, me? No, I'm one of the inmates. I went, oh, really? And I noticed the gate was open. And he'd walked in, probably took a hard hat and a pair of overalls. And I went, all right, what are you in here for? Because I didn't know whether people were in there for violent crimes. I didn't know. You didn't get inductions in those days about where you should and shouldn't go. And he just said, oh, I designed the American Cup yacht keel. And I do remember there was something about being top secret. They put me in here for arrest because, the job was too stressful for me. And I went, all right, okay. And I just thought, wow, that was a head scratcher, that one, for certain, the poor fella. I also, at the time, we went to, there was a Vietnam veteran working alongside me every now and again when I was getting a bit busy. And this guy was in his 40s, 45, something like that. And he used to tell me about Vietnam, because in some of the Australian workshops that have Vietnam, what do you call it? You know, like that. Coat of arms, you know, plaque on the wall. Because obviously Australian troops participating in Vietnam. And he had his own opinions about the war, which I won't elaborate on because they're probably not strictly politically, well, they're not politically correct at all. But he was shot, and he showed me his war wounds. And best way I can describe it, he had like 2 or 3 belly buttons going up here, like cinched up little things that looked like what a bullet wound would look to me. And he was very forthright in his views. He'd seen his best mate blown up. So yeah, he was, you know, interesting but also disturbing character to talk to from various levels. You know, he almost seemed to be probably suffering from PTSD. He was probably someone who had sort of issues along them lines, understandably. You know, I've never been in that situation, I wouldn't know. I remember the Pearl Harbor film being on one night, and I'm laying in the top bunk watching it. And the telly just went, first the sound went off because the guy who owned the place had his headphones on. Then the telly went off because obviously they were sleeping just behind me. What a strange setup. And I'll try and finish off with this last little bit because it's 40 minutes of me talking, and then we'll have to. Part of the job was, Aussies, Australian people, in my opinion, can sometimes be very understated. Like they'll say something like, "Oh, let's go, we're going to do it." And you think, "Well, I haven't been prepared." Like English people or British people tend to be a bit more like, "Oh, well, we have to prepare," a bit more panicky. We got up one morning, he said, "Oh, do you want to go in an aeroplane?" And I went, "Hey, yeah, we're going to fly down to Tumut. Tumut's a town in New South Wales." I said, "Well, all right then." So me, him, and his son, little tiny kid, be a man now, drove out to a grass airfield where there was a 1930s, I'll say Cessna, probably not the right model, but it was an airplane like that. And his mate, big straw hat on, beard. Beard's very popular in Australia. Big beard. And now what the situation was, I can't remember if it was my boss's plane, but he was the qualified pilot. My boss was still learning something along them lines. So I get in this aluminium thing. It was ancient, honestly, ancient. And what the guy said was to my gaffer, "I'll fly there, you fly back." 2-hour flight, whatever it was. They were going there. It was an eye-opener. It's the smallest aircraft I've ever been in my life. 4-seater, probably 2.5, because me, this little kid sat in the back, bouncing around all over there. I don't think we didn't have any seatbelts on, I don't think. You know, forgive me if I made that mistake. You were just like, and I felt safer in that than the great big jumbo jet thing, because I felt that if the engine cut out, we just glide down. It just seemed such a light thing. Okay, so we get to where we were going, Tumut, little grass airfield, the proper little log cabin building, and a guy picked us up to go. We were going to measure a job, and I had to get in the front for some reason. And this guy had a thumb that was like stiff and all stitching, like scars around here. He's driving the thing like that, and I'm going. He went, "Oh yeah, it's me big toe, mate." I went, "Sorry?" "Hey, I got my hand caught in the threshing machine, so I stitched me big toe on here as a thumb." I'm thinking, okay, hell. And we got into Tumut and did the measuring of the job, etc., etc. And what a beautiful little town it was. Never been back since. It is in the hinterland of New South Wales. It was a beautiful little country town where I had a very pleasant lunch for our flight back, which was very, very, very eventful. Because what happened was, the qualified pilot said to my boss, "You can fly it back." Now, there must have been dual controls on this thing. We took off from Tumut Airfield. As we went up, like this, a massive, great big stinking eagle was going right in front of us. So my boss decides to go over it. Now, I don't know much about flying, but I think I could make it stall. So the other guy took over and went, and this aeroplane went, and I remember just like, I think I went into zero gravity. And they turned on and went, "You all right at the back there?" I'm going, "All right." And the way back, we must have been caught in some sort of air current. Oh my God. Just like you were like a pea in a tin, all over the place. It was awful, absolutely awful, terrifying. Hope I never have to do it again. But we landed, and it got to the point where it was coming up Christmas. And I think I've covered about everything. I hope it was interesting enough for you. At Christmas, he said, "Go home and come back after Christmas and we'll start afresh in the new year." Unfortunately, he owed me about $3,000 or $2,000. I can't remember the exact amount because I say we used to pay by contract. He gave me a little bit of a go home for Christmas, back to my aunties with. But and actually that photograph there was taken from the bus, the coach, along the highway back to my auntie's place, and I was watching Cannon and Ball in like a remake with a Will Hay Copper film that was on for some strange reason. I just remember thinking, God, all the good British comedies you could have, and you've got that crap on. Sorry, Cannon and Ball. But yeah, so I went back, and the money and that job and the rest of my time in New South Wales is another story, and that is 45 minutes. I do apologise. I did try and keep it as short as possible, and I hope it's made you laugh. I hope it has. So, this is Stan, and I will have a drink and see you.